Good morning, job seekers. A big good morning, especially to you graduates who are looking for work at the moment or who are preparing over the next couple of months as you finish your semester to start looking for work. Today's workshop is all for you. Today's workshop is all for those of you who are about to graduate, and that's why it is called How to Land a Graduate Job in Australia. We're really going to focus our workshop today. It's only a short workshop, but we're going to give you some tips that you can apply as a graduate. So, what are some specific things that you should know as a graduate who is about to enter the market and look for work? How can you best prepare to show yourself off to potential employers? Alrighty, but before we get into the lesson today, just a couple of housekeeping workshop things. If I look like I'm looking over here a little bit today, that's because it's where my presentation screen and information is. If I do drop off the line for any reason, please stay on the line. Occasionally it does happen as I'm broadcasting, but feel free to ask questions as we're going along. Because we are coming to you live. I can answer your questions live, and it works well when we get people asking lots of questions. If you're thinking it, so is somebody else. Take lots of notes as we're going, but you can also watch a replay of this on our YouTube channel. All right, a little bit about me, your presenter, so you know my background and where I'm presenting to you from today. I'm a director at Smart Recruitment, and I've been in recruitment since 2005. Just celebrated my 16th anniversary. Over that time, I've conducted over 3,000 individual interviews, over 600 group assessments, and I've placed over 1,000 people into jobs. So that's my background. Spent a lot of time assessing candidates, interviewing candidates, preparing candidates for interview, rejecting candidates, and putting candidates into work. Launched the Candidate Coach, the platform that we're meeting on today, a little under 2 years ago. Alrighty, question. Are you planning on applying for a graduate vacancy in the next 12 months? Feel free to type into the comments box yes, no, or maybe. But I imagine if you're watching this video or this workshop this morning, coming to you live, that you are planning on applying for a graduate vacancy job over the next 12 months. Okay, I want to share some information with you from Grad Australia. So Grad Australia have said that based on the data across all industries, the average employer received 1,948 graduate applications and filled 59 graduate positions. So from a recruiter's point of view, those numbers are quite good. 59 jobs for, let's call it 60 jobs for 2,000 applications. But that still is only a 1 in 33 chance. A 1 in 33 chance of getting hired. 1,940 divided by 59 is a 1 in 33 chance. So I guess my question to you, and I'd love again for you to type your reaction into the comments box, is how does having a 1 in 33 chance make you feel when it comes to graduating? You've been working for years. You've been studying really, really hard. You've completed school. You've completed your new qualifications. And then when it comes to applying for graduate jobs, which you've been working towards, you've been planning, you've been envisaging, you've been imagining, the statistics say that you've now got a 1 in 33 chance of landing that job that you want. So how does that make you feel? For most people, it probably makes them feel a bit nervous, a little bit anxious, maybe a little bit frustrated as well. Okay, so what we're going to focus on today is job hunting tips. What can you actually do when it's really competitive? Because when it's 1 in 33, it is very competitive. And the graduate recruitment process is probably the most competitive recruitment process there is. You have a big number of applications and you are all very evenly qualified because you're recent graduates. So it's actually quite hard sometimes to find differences. So today we're going to focus on 11 tips that you as graduates can apply in a really competitive market that can help you stand out. So some of the things I'll mention today you might hear about, but I'm really hoping that there's going to be a couple of things I tell you today that are new to you. Alrighty, tip number 1, realize that all graduates meet the selection criteria. Now, this is really important for you to do. A lot of graduates, they apply for a graduate role, they spend hours on their application, and they get frustrated that they don't hear back because they think, well, I meet the selection criteria. It's looking for an engineering graduate. I'm an engineering graduate. I've applied. Why didn't I even get an interview? So being a graduate doesn't mean you're going to get the job. Being a graduate simply means you're allowed to apply for the job. Everybody that is applying for the job should be a graduate. So you are not special for graduating. All it means is you are allowed to now apply for the graduate position. So stop thinking that being a graduate alone is going to be enough to get you the job. It simply is not. But I meet the selection criteria. Well, so does everybody else. So does everybody else. If 100 people apply for the job, there will certainly be people who are unqualified that apply. But on the whole, most people are qualified. They're all graduates, and that's who you're competing with. So we need to start off with this in our mind. We need to have the mindset that, okay, I'm not going to stand out because I'm a graduate. I'm allowed to apply because I'm a graduate. Tip number 2. But first of all, a question. Are you attending careers fairs or graduate expos? So a photo there from what graduate and careers expos look like if we're not in COVID settings. Many of them are being run online these days. And so you might have been attending some online ones, but hopefully you have been attending whether online or in person, because it's a really useful way to get down the names of people. So if you're attending graduate careers fairs, what I'd really encourage you to do is at each organization you're interested in applying for work at, going up and introducing yourself, finding out the name of the person that you're speaking to and writing it down. And then you can use that information in your cover letter. When you're applying for a job with that organization, you can say, I met Tony Brown at the careers fair. Use his name. Then if you get invited along for an interview, mention, when I went to the careers fair, I met Tony Brown. And what Tony said was, people really like it when you use their names. Everybody likes their name to be used. But if you include that in your cover letter and during the interview, you will impress the person that you're meeting. They'll go, wow, even if it's not Tony you meet again, you know somebody. You've built a connection there. You've built some rapport. You've remembered who you met. It's a really great trick in many ways that can make the interviewer think, wow, this person's really interested in us. They met Tony Brown. They've remembered his name. No other candidate's done that. It's a really good way for you to show that you've put in a lot of effort. So tip number 2 is use people's names. And you'll only do so by taking notes, either when you're meeting people or straight afterwards. So go along to the careers fair with that in mind. Go along to the careers fair with, I actually am here for the purpose of meeting and writing down people's names. Tip number 3, have an achievements-based resume. Now, as I said before, everyone has the same qualifications. When you're applying for graduate jobs, you have the same qualifications as many of the other, if not all of the other applicants. So achievements on your resume can actually really make you stand out. So that's something that is really important for you to realize. Let's go and get those achievements on our resume, and they can. Now, if you don't know what an achievements-based resume is, or you don't have an achievements-based resume, or you're simply just not sure, go and watch our resume workshop. We have a 45-minute workshop there, and I will show you how you can create an achievements-based resume. So I would certainly encourage you to go and do that. All right. Tip number 4, show what you know about the company and the industry. So a lot of graduates will do a lot of research into the company. They will, and into the job. And it's excellent, because that is exactly what you need to do. But don't stop there. Don't stop with just the job and the company. Show what you know about the industry. What are the pressing issues? What's news in the industry? What are the hot topics at the moment? If you can show what you know about the industry, then you are building up in the mind of the recruiter your interest in the industry and your knowledge of a candidate. You want to do as much or more research than the other candidates. Remember, everyone's got the same qualifications. So if you can do more research than everybody else, that is going to really stand out. And you want to stand out because it's competitive. So company website, career pages. But for bonus points, press release and annual report. Go and read those documents, take some notes, and you can work that into your interview. You can ask questions based on what you've read. If you are in the interview and the interviewer says, now that we've come to the end of the interview, I'd like to know if you've got any questions for me. First of all, you should say yes. And secondly, you can then say, I read in the annual report this, and here's my question. Now, if you say that, the interviewer is going to be impressed. They're going to be impressed you read the annual report. They're going to be impressed you had a question based off that. Industry news, websites, and groups. What's with all the research? So I'm going to read a quote out to you. I'm going to read a quote out to you from Stefan Wheelock, who's a well-known Melbourne recruiter. This is a LinkedIn post. He wrote, credentials on your resume will get you that first interview, but it's not the key to your next position. Looking at the people we recently hired or who will be joining us shortly, there is one thing they all have in common. They were uber prepared. They have dug deep into what we do and stand for. They impressed us with their understanding of our business and the problems we're trying to solve. Yet, not all of them were exactly what we are looking for. On the opposite side, I interviewed a candidate the other day who looked great on paper, but when I spoke with her, she had no idea what we were doing and said she'd only research a company once she lands an on-site interview. Well, it's a Zoom interview these days. Now, if you haven't spent any time researching a company, you're missing the mark. I understand that doing research takes effort and you don't even know if it will pay off. However, that's exactly what other candidates do to get the job, and they're the ones that you compete with right from the beginning of your application. So you need to realize and expect that other candidates are doing a lot of research. So if you want to be equal with them, do as much research. If you want to be better than them, do more. And when it's a competitive recruitment process like it is for graduate hiring, you need to do lots of research. All right, tip number 5, we're motoring along now. Research the recruitment process. What do I mean by research the recruitment process? What tests will you be doing? What assessments will you be asked to complete? What do previous candidates have to say? All of this information is available for big companies online. You can go to Glassdoor, you can go to other review sites, and you can find out. If you can't find out, ask. Ask the person who's inviting you in for an interview. Ask them these questions. What kind of test will I be taking? They might give you the name of the test. If you know the name of the test, you can then go and Google it. You can read articles on how to answer questions well. If you know what type of assessments or what type of interview questions you're going to be asked, you can go away and prepare. You won't be able to prepare, though, if you don't know. So ask, find out, hear what previous people have to say, research the recruitment process, but then use it to your advantage. If you are turning up for an assessment and there's you and 10 other candidates, and you're the only one who actually knows what you're going to be asked, you've got a great head start. You've got a great head start there. Tip number 6, practicing your interview technique is so important because it's the only way that it's going to get better. A lot of candidates will not do this because they don't like doing it. I get it. Practicing answering interview questions is not how anyone really wants to spend their free time. It's boring. It makes you feel uncomfortable. But if you don't practice it, how is it going to get better? So get a friend, get your partner, get a family member, do it in front of the mirror, but practice answering interview questions. Practice and look at ask the person, say, how did I sit? What was my posture like? Was I looking you in the eye? Was I smiling? Was I building rapport? Do you feel my answer was good? Practice, practice, practice. Every time you practice, you'll get better. I guarantee it. Tip 7. Well, first of all, it's a question. Who would you rather work with? If you had to choose somebody from this list, who would you rather work with? Somebody likable or somebody unlikable? Well, we all know the obvious answer. We're going to click this one, somebody likable. It's obvious, isn't it? Well, let's talk about that in terms of getting a job then. Be likable. At the end of the day, particularly with graduate roles, we've talked about how competitive it is. 1 in 33 chance. If you're down to the top 3 or 4 candidates and the employer's sitting there going, I've got 4 great candidates, all got the same qualifications, all got similar experience. But, Sarah, she was really likable. She was really friendly. She was easy to get along with. Let's go with her. Now, that doesn't sound very scientific, but that is often how it happens. So if you haven't built some rapport, if you haven't created an atmosphere where you've been likable throughout the recruitment process, it can count against you. The person that's interviewing you might be thinking, I'm going to sit next to this person for the next couple of years? Do I want this person sitting next to me for 40 hours a week, for 48 weeks of the year, for 3 years? No, I don't really. They've got good skills, good qualification, but they were hard to get along with. They weren't really likable. Whereas this other candidate was much more likable. I'd much rather spend my time with them. They've got the same qualifications. So you need to be likable, okay? It will increase your chances of getting a job. It is that simple. Tip number 8, ask great questions. As we said before, when you get to the end of the interview, the person is going to say, do you have any questions at all for me? This is your opportunity to really stand out. So go away and do that research. If you ask great questions here, you can get a really good leg up on other candidates, because it's kind of the only part of the interview where you actually get to choose what you want to speak about. And this is how you can stand out. Tip number 9, positive responsive communication. It is actually quite surprising throughout the recruitment process how challenging it can be to meet some people. So if you've been applying for a job, have a voicemail that's active and ready. Make sure I can leave you a message. Answer the phone in a professional and positive way. Show interest in the person that you're meeting. Look them up on LinkedIn. Ask them how long they've been working there. Sorry, don't ask them how long they've been working there. Say, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You've been working here for 5 years. Why do you like it here? The interviewer will think, oh, it's nice they've looked me up. They're showing some interest. You're building some rapport with that person. Ask for honest feedback at the end of the interview. You might not get it, but if you don't ask, you never will. What it does show when you're asking for feedback is 2 things. 1, you're interested in the job, because why else would you want feedback? But 2, you're also open to coaching and learning. You're open to coaching and learning. Have a thankful attitude. So what does that mean? Well, smile. Every time you speak with someone, at the end of the conversation, say, thanks very much for speaking with me today. Thanks for the phone interview. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me face to face. Whatever it is, comes back to that likability. So positive, responsive communication is super important. Tip number 10, become a pro at video interviewing.
Hi job seekers, James here from The Candidate Coach. One of the most common questions we've been receiving lately is around how to best prepare for a video interview. Due to the circumstances over the last 12 to 18 months, video interviews have become the most common way of meeting a candidate, replacing the in-person, face-to-face interview. So here are my top tips for what you need to do to make sure you are best prepared and presenting yourself as well as you possibly can when your interview is over video. So there's 4 main things that you really need to consider. The first thing is camera height. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, is getting the height of their camera wrong. If you've got a laptop, for example, that is sitting on a desk, you need to lift it up. The camera should always be at eye height. You want to imagine the lens of a camera is the eyeball of a person. So if you are looking down at your laptop or your phone, it's going to look back up your nose. So keep the camera positioned at eye height. One of the great ways to do that is to buy a tripod, something like this. So if you don't have a tripod, it's well worth going out and spending the money. Here's another one that I've got here. This one in particular I find to be really, really good. These have both got lights which help, but this one here, you can adjust it to a full standing height if you like. And it's available for not much money from a retail store. The second thing that is really important is the lighting. So having the light shining on your face. You don't want to have light shining from behind you because that creates a lot of glare. So have the light shining on your face, sit with a window facing you so that you are looking nice and clear on camera. The third thing is audio. You need to be in a nice quiet space so your voice comes across clearly, so that you don't have to yell, so that the sound is not distorted. If you are using a laptop, make sure you check about the sound direction. Some microphones only record from directly in front, and if you tilt your head sideways, the audio quality can go down quite significantly. And the fourth thing is, remember to show some personality with video interviewing. A lot of people speak to a camera in a different way that they speak to a person. So again, look at the lens of the camera and imagine you're speaking to a person. Smile. Talk with your hands if that's what you do, but don't look around the room. If you're nervous, don't look down at your hands. Look at the camera and give an answer as if you were giving it to a person. This can be challenging, particularly if you are being asked to record answers and there's not actually a person that you are speaking to, but personality definitely comes through on video, so make sure you show yours. And with everything, practice. If you're not sure how you're going to present, or you think, I don't think this is going to work really well, set up your camera, hit record, and just speak to the camera. Talk, see how you look, and practice several times. This is going to be the new norm, or not the new norm, it is the norm for quite some time now. So it's really important that you understand how to best prepare for video interviewing. Good luck.
All right, tip number 11, our final tip, and this is perhaps one of the most important tips, and that is missing out isn't the end of the world. There is a lot of heightened expectation and excitement when you are looking for graduate work. It is probably too much hype, to be honest, because you have just graduated and you have been working towards this job for what might seem like 10, 15 years for some people. Missing out on a graduate job, particularly at that one organization that you really wanted to get into, that you know has a great graduate program, it can be a real blow. It can be quite upsetting. But it is really important to understand that missing out isn't the end of the world, and there are plenty of other options that will open up for you. Alrighty, so just a reminder on some of our upcoming workshops. So down the bottom here, same day next week, Job Seeker Masterclass. This is our longest workshop. Goes for 90 minutes to 2 hours. Be here to watch it this time next week. Same place, same time. But if you're still wanting more assistance, a reminder about what's available on our candidate coaching platform. We've got videos, templates, practice tests, checklists, articles, advice for executive job seekers, mental health support, all of our upcoming live workshops, and they're all advertised to you for free. We would love to get your feedback on today's workshop. So if you are watching, please visit either of those sites. Give us some feedback on today's workshop. But also, make sure you're following our LinkedIn page, because we put lots of information, lots of updates on there around new content and different pieces that are coming out. But as always, we like to finish each of our workshops with a video around how to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, because this is really important for many job seekers. And particularly as a graduate, as I said, if you've missed out on that role, you can often feel a little bit upset, a little bit despondent, perhaps, that you didn't get the job you're looking for. And so we have partnered with the Black Dog Institute, and I'd like to provide this video as a way of ending today's session on how to look after your mental health while looking for work. Thanks for joining me this morning. I'm the Candidate Coach. I'll be back to see you here again, same time next week. Bye-bye for now.
If you're not feeling terrific at the moment and you feel like your mental well-being has taken a little bit of a dip, please remember this is not going to last forever. There's lots you can do to manage your mental health and get back on top of it. I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years. A lot of adults and young people, mainly with anxiety, depression, trauma as well, a range of issues, and many who are looking for work and undergoing that process of trying to find employment. Looking for work causes mental strain because our identity is tied up with our work. Work gives us meaning, it gives us purpose, it gives us company and connection. So it's stressful for lots of reasons looking for work, and it can take a toll on our mental health. It's really important for us to be aware of the signs that our well-being and our mental health might be dropping. Probably the biggest sign is changes in behaviour. So that might be changes in the way we're thinking or talking to ourselves. We might be saying things like, who would employ me? I'll never get a job. We might be really down on ourselves and really hard and critical on ourselves when normally we're not so hard and critical. We might also, in our relationships, change our behaviour. We might be more snappy or more irritable with people that we love, that normally we might be a little bit irritable sometimes, but not irritable in that way. Losing interest in things that usually sparked us and ignited us and gave us joy. So perhaps usually we like walking the dog and suddenly we start thinking, I can't be bothered walking the dog today. That sort of thing, those changes in behaviour are really significant because they tell us that something's different, and if we're noticing, I suppose, more than one of those and it's affecting the way we feel, and this is over a period of say 2 weeks or longer, then it's a really good idea to have a chat to a GP that you trust, and find out what might be going on, have a discussion and see if there's any physical reasons for that, or if perhaps your mental health and wellbeing might be able to do with a little bit of extra support, and then the GP can refer you on to see a psychologist, a counsellor, whoever is most appropriate for you. There are so many great things you can do to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, and it's really important that you do. My very top tip would be really talking kindly to yourself and being compassionate with yourself. I think when we're looking for work, we can have a lot more questions like, will I ever get a job? Will I ever be employed? It can feel like this could go on forever. So being kind to ourselves and saying things like, it will work out. There will be a day, my efforts will be rewarded. It will just take time. I'll just need to keep trying. Reminding yourself of your strengths. And that might even be tapping into people you love and asking them what your strengths are, because sometimes it's harder to find them when our mood's a bit low and we're feeling more worried. We can be harder on ourselves. I think that routine is really, really important to our well-being. When we're looking for work, we mightn't have such a regular routine because there mightn't be a 9 to 5 start and finish time for a job, or there isn't. So instead, thinking about looking for work as a job in itself can be helpful. Having a start time and a finish time can be really helpful, and some set tasks that you hope to achieve that day. Purpose is really important too. So purpose might come through routine, but it can also come through other things. Meaning's really important, and our work gives us meaning. So when we're looking for work, meaning mightn't feel like it's there as much. Part of what we can do is infuse those tasks with meaning. So I am doing these things today, I'm looking for work, and that is meaningful in itself because there's an end goal to this. It will be something that's good for me and good for the people that I love as well. Some excellent resources for looking after well-being when looking for work are the Headgear app. The Headgear app is free, it's evidence-based, it's developed by Black Dog Institute, and it is fun to use. It uses mindfulness, so a technique to really help us relax and reduce physiological arousal, which can often occur when we're feeling anxious. It's got a 30-day challenge, which is just short, bite-sized little challenges to extend your well-being and grow your well-being, and that can be really extra important when we're looking for work. There are also some really terrific resources available through the Black Dog Institute. One of them is a beautiful self-care plan that encourages you to think about your top coping tips, the things that personally work best for you, that are positive coping strategies. Another really good resource is through Beyond Blue, and they've got some excellent resources to look after mental health while looking for work, and also when people are recently out of work as well. Probably time to seek professional assistance when you notice your mood is lower and you're feeling more down than usual, when you're worrying more and perhaps worrying excessively about things that you wouldn't normally worry about, and perhaps in your relationships too, when you're more tense with people and perhaps more snappy or irritable. All of these are signs that perhaps our mood is not in the greatest space and our well-being is not in the greatest space, and that it can be a great idea then to chat to your GP, who can then refer you to an appropriate person to help you strengthen your well-being. It's very common for people to have a dip, but please know that that's not going to last forever, and that there's lots you can do through looking after yourself, but also through getting access to professional support that can really give you a boost again and get you back feeling good as you're looking for work.